Are you a woman and does your uterus piss blood every month? According to my analytics, 52.8% of you watching are. So I can say that we all know our uteruses piss blood in preparation for pregnancy. Don't you ever feel mad that we're cursed with blood loss every single month? Cause I am. I hate my period. I hate getting period cramps so much. So that's why, do you ever wonder, man, what if men could get pregnant? And you might think, oh, that can't happen. That's not biologically possible. But, you know, that might not be possible in reality, but it's possible in fiction. And that fiction is called yaoi. So, yaoi jump scare. Do you get jump scared? No? Okay. Specifically, I suppose that trope would be called mpreg, which stands for male pregnancy, which is, good. Not my favorite trope, but good. I mean, also read it. But mpreg is not the topic that I'm going to talk about today. The topic that I'm going to talk about today is called zergs. Cause casual yaoi fans might be able to know what mpreg is, but hardcore yaoi fans knows what zergs are. So zergs is a trope that only exists on the Chinese side of yaoi fandoms. Derivative of the interstellar trope in Chinese fiction. And if you don't know what interstellar is, it's basically a trope in where humanity is in space and they have to fight against an alien species called zergs, and they're very advanced in technology, and there's military schools and military camps, and they go into space and they fight in cool robots. But zergs is a derivative of all of that. In the world setting of zergs, instead of them being humans and you focusing on the human side of things, you actually switch around. The main characters in this society are called zergs, and although I explained earlier that zergs are an alien bug-like species, apparently they look like bugs and they're kind of disgusting, and I assume they took it off of StarCraft because that's the only result I get when I search up zergs. Instead, the zergs take on a humanoid position, so they actually don't really look like alien bugs. Instead, they usually carry traits of zergs that we find in interstellar novels. Basically, these aliens get humanized and they no longer look like disgusting, nasty cockroaches. Why? Because I think in reality, most of us do not want the image of two cockroaches plopping in our mind. So how does a zerg story usually go? In China and most Asian countries, the trope of transmigration is super popular, and you've probably read a lot of transmigration manga, manhwa, novels, and such. And zergs is really no different. The main character usually starts off transmigrating into the zerg world. They typically transmigrate into male zergs. Gender is actually super important in zergs because that's what they base their society off on. In this way, you could say that it's kind of similar to Omegaverse, if you know what Omegaverse is, because both tropes bases their society off of gender. In zergs, there are three genders. There are the male zergs, the female zergs, and the sub-female zergs. Male zergs are extremely rare in zerg society, hence they're treasured and treated gently and put above the rest. They're really only needed for their sperm. But I think zerg society is being really nice and not enslaving them to become sperm piggies. Instead, they're given a bunch of privileges. They're able to have their own harem of female zergs and rather is encouraged. But replace female with really buff men, because all female zergs are really buff men. Buffer than the main character because all male zergs are actually hyper twinky. Male zergs in this world are massively spoiled with dogshit personalities. Because they are treated so well, they view those around them as lesser, so they mistreat their wives and get everything they want. The wives they marry also provide the money for the male zergs. All male zergs live spoiled lives. There's even an organization in this world called the Male Zerg Protection Association that protects the male zergs and arrests anyone who harm or annoy a male. Which honestly is kinda crazy because what the fuck? It kind of reminds me of when you buy a house and then you find out that there's a homeowners association, cause who even likes having a homeowners association? It's kind of fucked up. The zerg world honestly feels like an incel's fever dream, except the cost would be that they would need to be gay. Female zergs are the worker bees of zerg society. They are the provider for male zergs if they're married to one, and most work for the military. Female zergs may have insect wings hidden behind slits in their back. They can also get pregnant. Subfemale zergs are female zergs, but they are built like twinks and are infertile. Most times they don't have usage to the plot other than being the types that male zergs prefer. I have no idea how the zerg trope appeared, but despite the brain rot, I think it's an interesting concept. Like, how else am I supposed to explain to someone buff alien bugmen can get pregnant? Zergs feels like a fever dream, but honestly, most yaoi tropes feel like a fever dream, so I won't complain. I actually like Zergs because it's one of the rare yaois where you're guaranteed a semi-protagonist. If you aren't a yaoi enjoyer, you won't recognize that most BLs and BL fans do not like semi-protags and prefer UK protags, despite more than 90% of yaoi already having UKs as the protagonists. So, you should let us semi-enjoyers have a win. I want my sparkle, yaoi sparkle variety. Thank you very much. Anyways, that was your bi-weekly dose of yaoi. And for next week, we'll talk about yaoi self-cess.